What's going on, guys? Welcome back to another episode of Renegade Jukebox on the Renegade Pop Culture Podcast Network. My name is Mike. Joining me, as always, is Nick.
And with this, now we die.
Yeah, today we are on Machine Head's 8th studio album, Bloodstone and Diamonds. And yeah, we've kind of come to the end of what we considered the golden era, which is from 2003 to 2014. Something significant about this record is it's the first one on a new for them, record label, Nuclear Blast. That's a pretty big deal, considering
Roadrunner basically shat the bed in the early to late 2010s.
Yeah.
And also, we will get into this on track 10, but this is also the first album to feature Jared MacEachern on bass because Adam Duce was out of the band right at the beginning of 2013. So the bass playing spot was vacant, and Jared MacEachern of the band Sanctity basically filled the void.
Yeah, we will get into that for sure. The only real negative I have of this album, and it's nothing against Jared, it's just I don't really notice the bass as much on these tracks, but you know, maybe he just doesn't have as much of a presence as Adam had. But again, we'll get more into that later. For now, go ahead.
I was actually going to say I noticed his bass playing. Like I've mentioned this to you. I don't know if I mentioned this in the last episode, but I recently just got like a new pair of like Sennheiser headphones. I was noticing his bass like pretty frequently, and plus he does have a lot of songwriting credits all over, mainly on 2 specific tracks. But yeah, he's clearly not just some hired gun.
And that's actually good. Good for the band in the long run. Because something I have noticed is that none of these musicians have ever really phoned it in, even on the albums that we don't particularly care for. It's the writing choices that we don't like, not their talent.
Yeah, exactly.
So with that said, we start with Shocker, another banger opening track, Now We Die.
Which, man, talk about kicking you in the face as usual every time they open a record.
Seriously. I like even on Supercharger, like our highest compliments were like that first track, not counting the intro.
Like the first real track. Yeah. Bulldo, like really Davidian, 10-ton hammer, Desire to Fire, even Desire to Fire, Bulldozer, Imperium, Clenching, I Am Hell, this. None of these songs, even the weakest out of the bunch, that is Desire to Fire, it never slouches on how intense the music can be. And plus, as usual, our man Phil Demmel bringing the heat with the shred.
Hell yeah. I also really like the string arrangement in the background. It adds to, and I'm going to say this a lot for this record, a sort of cinematic quality.
Which actually Reese Fulber, who's, I'm probably mispronouncing his last name horribly there, Reese Fulber of Frontline Assembly fame and also producer for a lot of Fear Factory's most classic records. He actually did the string arrangements on this and another song on this record.
Oh, that's good to know.
And just don't get us wrong either. This isn't just Machine Head trying to sound like a symphonic metal band. No, they remind you from the very get-go, prepare for riffs.
Yeah, the string section is just it's just the cherry on top. It's not it's not laid on as thick as like Nightwish or other symphonic acts.
Yeah, pretty much. And I don't know what else I can really say about this song. I just remember the minute I heard it came out, I had to jump on my phone and hear it. I didn't care if I was using up my data wherever I was at the time. I was like, no, get your headphones out. Listen to this now. And yeah, even after the 1,000th time I've heard it, it's still amazing.
Yep.
The I don't have really too much else to say. Just it's another really great opening track.
Yeah, that's really all I have to say too. And then of course we get to the first single, Killers and Kings.
Which will make you want to flip your desk over because of how heavy it is.
Yep. That opening riff is just kind of perfection.
Actually, even I should mention this because I've mentioned in previous episodes how I've seen Machine Head live. I feel like I should bring this up. The entire time we've been doing this, the first time I saw them live was the tour behind this album in 2015. And the entire time we've been recording these, I've had my signed poster from this tour made out to me by the band.
Awesome.
And all I have to really say is, yeah, as great as the studio version of this is, live, this song just basically caves your skull in even more.
I need to find a live recording of the song, because even the studio mix is, it's great because the band is great, but like some of these tracks I'm just kind of imagining what they would sound like live, and now I need a recording of that like as soon as possible.
On the deluxe edition of Catharsis, they actually had basically the exact same set list that I saw actually on like a bonus disc and a bonus DVD even.
Oh, nice.
So beyond that, one thing I kind of forgot to mention about Now We Die actually is, yes, they still have a lot of the prog influences that were on The Blackening and Unto the Locust. But at the same time, I don't want to say like they oversimplified it or anything like that, but you can definitely tell that there's less of a focus on trying to write the most epic piece that they can write. Like it's pretty obvious. It's kind of their Hemispheres to Permanent Waves by Rush in that sense, where Hemispheres was just this album that the band was just hammering away at in the studio, and then on the next album they're like, man, we can't really do the ultra crazy complex stuff again. We're still a prog band, but we gotta dial it back. In Machine Head's case, it was, yeah, we brought in the prog elements and we're gonna keep them, but let's maybe not have most of the songs be like 9 minutes a piece.
Yeah, the longest one on the record we'll get to later is like 8.5 minutes. Still on the long side, but not quite to like the extreme.
Yeah, the main studio story I really have to contribute to this, because again, they kept a lot of this a little bit more under wraps from what I remember years ago. But I do remember seeing in like Rob's general diaries that he always posts on the band's website, I do remember he was, listening to a lot of Rain and Blood by Slayer and just going like, man, I want to just write songs that just pack as much heavy riffs into it as possible. And you can kind of tell Killers and Kings as a result of that.
Oh yeah.
And I say that in the best possible way, because did I mention how great it is to hear the song over and over again, caving your skull in? Because it will do that. And you'll love every second of it.
Indeed. So moving on to the next track, I put this in my notes. The first of the 6 out of 5 songs, "Ghosts Will Haunt My Bones."
Is it just me, or does this song kind of have a bit of a funeral? Like, this is, we'll touch on this once we get to the very last track on the record, but does it kind of give you that vibe of we're getting pretty close to the end? Almost kind of like it's a funeral in a way.
I kind of felt that a little bit in like the tone and some of the lyrics.
Also, this is the first of the 2 songs that Jared has contributed to the band, especially in the vocal department.
I feel bad for underselling his contributions at the start of this, because this I don't know if this song would have worked as well without him.
Yeah, because the difference between him and Adam is largely that my thing with vocalists is that I don't like to like high pitched or whiny sounding clean singing. And his just kind of has that balance of like, yes, everything's sung properly and correctly, and like the notes are being hit well, but at the same time, like it's not as gruff sounding as the way Adam would. It's pretty clear that they're 2 distinct sounding backing vocalists, but in this case, it kind of helps elevate the song.
Mm-hmm.
And especially, man, Phil Demmel and those riffs, especially the tapping, like, man, you can really tell the Randy Rhoads influence coming in like perfectly.
Oh, yeah, I could hear that like pretty much throughout the song.
And also, this is one of the I just have the track list from Wikipedia in front of me, but it's 1, 2, 3. One of the 3 songs that Dave has contributed to. So yeah, his contributions kind of like Locust are a little bit dialed back, but don't get us wrong, his drumming is still as crazy as it was on the previous all of his records with the band, really.
Yeah, I told Nick off air that we have to make sure that we're not taking McLean for granted, because every single album so far he has poured like 110% into like each track, and even though he's not like contributing as much like to the writing, like he still delivers on the performances.
Oh, 100%. And especially when it just gets to that middle, like really sledgehammer section towards the end with these ghosts will haunt my bones, they won't leave me alone, and then it just it almost sounds like it's just gonna smash right through your speakers. It's just that heavy.
Mm-hmm.
We get to one of my personal favorites on the record. This one I've pretty much loved since minute number 1. I almost kind of think this should have been the first single.
You think so?
But I mean, that's just me. I don't know. Plus, also, part of me gets the vibes Tarantino probably jammed this while writing Once Upon a Time in Hollywood.
Makes sense.
I would love a universe where that happens.
So the track is called "Night of Long Knives." Yeah, this is another just example of Machine Head taking your face and just smashing it with a hammer 75,000 times.
Don't you mean with a 10-ton hammer? Dad pun. No. So Night of Long Knives is basically, if the Tarantino reference wasn't a dead giveaway, it's actually about the Manson family murders, and it kind of fits calling it Night of Long Knives too, because it is some reference to something in World War II. I have the article in front of me. It's a descriptive. It's a descriptive phrase that was applied to the night in June of 1934 when Hitler carried out a series of political murders. And given that he was one of Charles Manson's like influences for the killings, if I'm not mistaken. I could be completely wrong on this, but yeah, it kind of fits with the title at the end of the day, and just the lyrical content. It's not afraid to just go into graphic detail about the killings.
Something that Machine Head has always been good at is that sort of storytelling in their lyrics, that they're definitely not afraid to go dark.
Yeah, and it just gets descriptive, and on top of that, just some of the best music you'll hear on this record. I mean, Phil's solo sounds incredible. The drumming is amazing. Rob's vocals are on point and brilliant. And even with the more sung chorus, it doesn't make it too poppy. It still sounds aggressive and heavy. It just makes it enjoyable to listen to, even though you're listening to a song about a series of grisly murders from the 60s, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, from the
1969.
Yeah, you would think I would remember that, despite having listened to the song millions of times since the album came out. But no, the Night of Long Knives, it's probably one of, if not my favorite song on the record.
Yeah, it would probably be somewhere in my top 3. Honestly though, tracks 3 to 5 are like a nice little run. Track number 5 would be one of my favorites. Sail into the Black. This is the 8.5-minute epic that I kind of mentioned earlier. And I know it's a little bit cliche given given the title, but I can't help but kind of picture a scene from like Pirates of the Caribbean whenever I listen to this song.
For me, like, I can still picture like, sailing on a boat, but kind of like you're just sailing through like this really dark, misty fog at like midnight, and you're just going on this journey that you're not sure you're even going to come back from. Like, it just kind of, the music and the lyrics kind of just give you this mental image into your brain, and that's kind of the first time on this album for me where the music just brings that out of you.
Even just talking about it, I still get that imagery.
Yeah. Weird enough though, people I've talked to have said that like this is one of their least favorites on the album. I don't get that.
Me neither.
Like,
is it because it's not as fast, or as well? I don't want to say it's not as heavy, because lyrically it's lyrically it's pretty down there.
Yeah, it's a pretty dark song, but like maybe because it's a slower song, but Through the Ashes had slower songs. The Blackening, Locust had slower moments on them. Like, I don't get it in this case, because just the way it brings the emotions out in you listening to it, and just kind of giving you that mental image of, just kind of sailing. I hate to be this literal with it, but literally just sailing off, not sure if you're going to come back from wherever you're going to. I don't know. That's just kind of what I look for in music. And then as soon as the slower part of the song is done, it doesn't fail to remind you that it's a fucking Machine Head song, and it will punch you square in the face repeatedly again.
Yep.
And
that's just what I love about the band, that even on a slower song, like their arrangements are not predictable.
And not one bit, especially. By the way, I do have to give one big shout out to Phil Demmel, because when I was jamming this album, I posted the vinyl on my Instagram. Phil Demmel was badass enough to like and comment on it, which my thing is, I don't post albums to get likes or anything. I post them because like I genuinely love this music, and I genuinely like the records and movies I post about, or I want to have some kind of appreciation for them at the very least. But because it's one of my favorite records and one of my favorite guitar players liked my post, I'm like, that made my fucking day when I found that out.
Oh, always a great feeling when one of your heroes finds a post and likes it.
Yeah, and just like to kind of get away from that, I'm just kind of like, man, it's a bummer that the next album, I don't want to have it be like doom and gloom before the end of the episode, but you know, just knowing the next album is what it is ultimately, it's kind of a bummer, especially because how great the soloing is on this album. Like Phil's solo lands the killing blow on this song for me.
Same.
The next one, we get back from slow, methodical, and dark to just plain dark, heavy, and caving your skull in again. Eyes of the Dead.
And again, one of the things I wrote in my notes, especially because like the way the song opens, is we definitely need to give some more love to Dave McClain, who is just absolutely annihilating that drum kit.
Oh, no doubt about it in my mind. I swear he hits every tom, his snare, every cymbal, every bass drum. I swear he hits every part of that kit at least 50 times per minute. Like he's not just like doing death metal blast beats on it, but it's just something about his drumming just makes the song just constantly attack you along with the riff.
You can easily tell that he's influenced by Neil Peart.
Oh, well, 100%. But then again, anybody who I personally argue anybody who listens to metal bands of current day, you owe a lot to Neil Peart.
Mm-hmm.
And especially again, to jump on to like how other great parts of the song, this is basically just if you shortened Wolves and gave it a bigger chorus, you'd get Eyes of the Dead.
Yeah, sounds about right.
Now we must discover the brown note, because Beneath the Silt is in a goddamn weird tuning.
Yeah, so where is the brown note?
I have no clue. I'm going to assume it still hasn't been discovered, but I'm going to assume definitely deathcore bands and gent bands haven't discovered it yet. So, hey, if Machine Head want to go searching for it on Beneath the Silt, hey, they at least gave it a good effort, I'd say.
And this is probably the one for me that felt the most groovy, because we sometimes forget that Machine Head is a groove metal band, and they know how to they know how to like keep those groove metal elements even in their more progressive albums.
Actually, the main thing I noticed with this, especially like my last couple of listens jamming this again, did you notice Phil's solo like in your left ear during like the last chorus?
A little bit.
Like, especially when you have like really good headphones, man, you pick up like certain things you've missed before. That's why I prefer listening to my music in like, over the ear type headphones, because man, this solo basically made me an even bigger fan of this song, just because on top of that massive, again, arena sized chorus that I don't think Machine Head get enough credit for writing on even albums that have like 9-10+ minute songs, they still land a killing blow with a great chorus without having it sound too poppy and just have like this technical solo over it.
Yeah, they are very good at delivering anthemic choruses, but like you said, not too poppy. They find a nice sweet spot for those.
Yeah, especially just given how, to kind of use a band that they toured with on the last album, the way All That Remains have their choruses where it's like, yes, we're designing this for the radio, especially like on albums they would be putting out like more 2010 2012 onward ish. The next track, though, this one we've got a lot to talk about, especially knowing what comes on the next record. In Comes the Flood.
Yeah, this is the second song that Jared has contributed lyrically, and it's another political song, because Machine Head is kind of known for their politics.
I would say more than kind of, especially when you go and read some of the. I'm not even on Facebook anymore, largely just because of how dumb the comments can get some days. Just, man, if people don't realize it now, Machine Head's always they've been political since album number 1. And
Exactly.
this song is just another byproduct of, like, for me, the only real problem I have is just kind of the one of the last parts of the second verse. I kind of find one part of the lyrics just kind of lands a little bit with a thud, but the rest of the song, politically, it makes its point. It's communicated intelligently and poetically the way it would on previous records. And I was telling you this, Mike, that middle section, that clean section between Rob and Jared, more towards like the 4 or 5 minute mark, is it just me, or does that part kind of remind you of like Awaken the Dreamers by All Shall Perish?
Yeah, I do get a little bit of that. Do you think lyrically this song kind of holds up better today than it would back in 2014?
I think that was during the period where I think most people know where both of us stand, like politically, but I think that was the time period where what was being posted online, things that were getting reported on in the media, that was when things were kind of starting to get a little bit more muddied, if that makes sense. And really, you can't say it doesn't hold up, especially just knowing that we still have rich assholes trying to launch themselves into space and just spend ridiculous amounts of money, while a lot of people are still just barely scraping by in life. So, I mean, yeah, I'd have to agree with you,
because that's really my biggest takeaway from this track. It seems like now we need more songs like this, because it doesn't seem like things are getting better anytime soon. In fact, they're only getting worse.
Yeah, especially with modern current event. I know I'm not trying to get like preachy or up anybody's ass about, for me, I'm here to talk about music, but I'd kind of be tone deaf if we didn't acknowledge like certain events going on in the world right now. So it's just kind of, sometimes music just needs to be a reflection of the real world, and this just does it in a way that on one hand it's enjoyable to listen to, but at the same time, like, it confronts a real issue, which, as much as I have feelings about the next album, I really don't get why people honed in on that like it was an issue.
Yeah. We'll get into that on the next episode, but my thing about music and politics is it's about the execution. It's not necessarily just about the message.
Yeah, exactly. That's the way it should be at the end of the day.
But musically, the song just kicks ass.
Oh yeah, 100%. Like the band is basically just firing on all cylinders when you get down to it. It's very, for as doom and gloom as it is, it just does what it does so well.
Indeed.
The next track, though, what if I told you it was supposed to go on Unto the Locust?
Oh.
Yeah, I just found this out recently from their Instagram page. Apparently, this was from the 10th anniversary of Unto the Locust. Apparently, there was an effort to get Damage Inside put on Unto the Locust. So I have no idea how that album would have looked with this song on it.
Yeah, that's interesting because we've talked before about how the track order it is just as important to the listening experience as like the individual tracks themselves. So I'm just kind of curious where Damage Inside would have even fit on the record.
Yeah, that's the main thing. I don't think it could have come before or after Darkness Within. I don't think it could have gone between Be Still and Know and Locust. I don't think it could have gone after Pearls Before the Swine. I don't know. It just kind of feels like the odd one out of the bunch. Especially, I didn't even know this until like recently. Apparently, Dave McClain is the one playing guitar on this. Like, I knew he contributed like a ton of riffs to the band before, but I had no clue that like he played guitar on this track. I think this is the first time he's played guitar on a Machine Head record.
Yeah, I think this is like the only album in which he's credited on a as a guitarist.
Yeah, which is kind of actually, I should also mention this. Apparently, I'm not a fan of this band, but it's noteworthy. Apparently, Jordan Fish of Bring Me the Horizon does the keyboards and string arrangements on this and on In Comes the Flood.
That's cool. Anytime that like bands bring in like additional personnel, just for like those little little flares, that's always cool to me.
Yeah, and in this case, I'm not a Bring Me the Horizon fan by any stretch, but yeah, this actually does bring something to the music, and plus it's just a very depressive compared to how Unto the Locust was and how confrontational it was. This is much more depressing to hear, like almost defeated.
Yeah, you kind of can't help but feel a little heartbroken after listening to this.
Yeah, it kind of just makes you feel like this is kind of the best way I can transition into the next song, because the band themselves really did feel defeated, especially after we gotta talk about the Adam Deuce in the room.
Yep. So track 10 is called Game Over, and this might be the closest that that any a metal band has come to like legitimately writing a diss track.
Now, except for Devil with the King's card on the Burning Red.
True.
Because I say that purely because apparently when Machine Head was doing that tour with Death Clock, Black Dahlia Murder, and All That Remains, apparently that tour was hell for them to get through. And apparently Adam Deuce was just like, he was just not compliant at all. And from kind of going back on and watching past interviews with the guy, I don't know which side to really believe. I think it's kind of a mixture of both sides played their part. So what I kind of gather is Adam wanted to contribute more lyrics and music ideas to Unto the Locust, but Rob kept shooting them down for what ended up being on the album. But then eventually he just said, you know what, fuck you, man, I'm not gonna give you any more lyrics if every time you're just gonna be like, no thanks. And then on Rob's side, he just kind of goes, he just would not comply, or he didn't even seem like he wanted to be there at that point, which I have no idea how true it is if this dates back all the way to like 2001, but I think eventually just egos butt heads, and it resulted in him being fired from the band. And this song ends up being a result of that.
Yeah. It's really hard to imagine Machine Head without Adam Deuce. I mean, this album does like a good job without him, but still he's like part of the history of the band.
Yeah, because at this point Rob's the only original member left. Like we were mentioning on Night of Long Knives, the lyrics just don't pull any punches. Like I know they were trying to be, because Adam Deuce would eventually go on to sue the band because they still had him on their website, but Locust had just come out 2 years prior, so it makes sense why he'd still be on the band's website because he was a member and played on that record. But no, I think they tried to keep it as vague as possible to where it could be open to interpretation, but there's some pretty blunt and direct references to Rob and Adam's friendship.
Yeah, like you even if like you didn't know like the full story, you can even just hear the anger on this track with Rob's delivery.
Well, especially just the delivery has to be there, but also the lyrics do, because like at this point, let's just be honest, there's no coming back after a line like, on the day of your demise, unburied and left for the flies, believe me that I will piss upon your grave. Like, yeah, you're not coming back to this band ever. But like, as for the music side of things, this is another Rob Phil type track, and it just, especially knowing that later in like 2019 that Phil and Dave would jam with Adam in one of Phil's cover bands, isn't it kind of awkward that Rob and Adam hate each other and Phil kind of helped Rob write a song basically just tearing him a new asshole and putting him on blast? Like eventually you just kind of go like, dude, so you wrote a song saying that this guy is gonna piss on my dead body. I can only imagine how that conversation would look like.
I'm sure we've all been in that position where we're like the middleman between like two friends, like feuding with each other, and we're just like in that awkward position.
Yeah, because like no lie, I've blasted Game Over whenever I've had issues with certain people I either was friends with or am still friends with, and we managed to hash it out. But I mean, the music itself is a good enough reflection of what it's like to be in a friendship that's kind of like just barely hanging on at the seams. What else do you have to say about Game Over? Because I kind of feel like this is another one of those Machine Head reveal something very dark and personal on the album moments.
I think we kind of covered everything as far as like the lyrics and just the overall theme. Um, and then just musically, like you said, this is Demel and Flynn just just being badasses across the entire 6.5 minute track.
Yeah. Then we get to one of the few instrumentals in Machine Head's career, even if it is mostly just audiobook snippets.
Yep, this is Imaginal Cells.
Which apparently it's from an audiobook that Rob Flynn was recommended to, I believe, either by a member of Job for a Cowboy or Havoc.
Hmm.
I could be completely
Interesting.
wrong. I can't remember which band, but I know in the liner notes he thanks a member from, again, I can't remember if it's Job for a Cowboy or Havoc, but he thanks them for recommending that audiobook to him, which it kind of serves the same purpose the way realize did on Burn My Eyes.
Yeah, I was gonna say like it does seem like this is a kind of spiritual successor to that track.
Oh, definitely. It's not a very shreddy. It is kind of weird in the track listing having like a very downtrodden sounding song than a song that just again caves your skull in with how heavy it is, and then another slower track, but this time just instrumental. Like it kind of is weird not having another song to kind of break that up with. But I mean, it is a good break into our closing track.
Take me through the fire.
I'm going to present you with this and call it early. I don't care. I'm going to bring up a hot take, especially knowing the record that's going to come next. Mike, how would you feel after this song if Machine Head decided to call it a career?
Funny you should mention that because I wrote in my notes that this album, just in general, would have been like the ultimate swan song. Like if this really was the end of Machine Head, I would have said, "Wow, they really ended on a high note." Like it's just amazing. Come like rising from the ashes after the flop that was Supercharger, and just like earning their place as like um one of the greatest American metal bands of the 2000s.
Yeah, because even like that final riff, that kind of feels like, yeah, this ends things perfectly. Because I mean, like the song itself is incredible. Like it really feels like kind of like the way Who We Are ended onto the Locust. This kind of makes you feel like you made it to the end of the journey. You made it through the darkness and the deep recesses of Rob Flynn's mind, and you've come out on the other side like a stronger person in the end. Like it literally makes you feel like you've been through the fire with this band.
Mm-hmm. Like this is basically like the closing credits on um of their career.
like I best way I can kind of imagine it, like if they ever decided to do like a Full Metal Alchemist live action series, if they actually had like the entire father arc done in live action, that would be this would be like the perfect song to have like that fight go down to.
Oh, that would be pretty awesome.
And just again, I know we keep mentioning how great Phil Demmel's soloing is, but like in terms of like the best guitar players of the best metal guitar players of the 2000s, he doesn't get brought up like as much as say Mark Morton and Willie Adler or Alexi Laiho, or to a different degree, rest in peace, Ollie Herbert. Like, I don't feel like he gets brought up as much as he should.
Yeah, no, he really doesn't. Which is a shame because you know he has like the chops that like, and he's like, I'd say he's just as good as those names you mentioned. If not like a hair better.
Yeah, the best way I can describe Phil Demmel is if Mark Morton is this generation's Dimebag, then Phil Demmel is this generation's Randy Rhoads.
Yeah, that's fair.
Which, knowing Randy Rhoads is like his biggest influence as a musician, that's probably like the highest compliment we could give the guy.
Oh yeah.
But I mean, in the end, I do think that if Machine Head decided to, like, yeah, maybe it would be premature. Maybe they would have some more things to say, and they obviously have on like future standalone singles and the next album. But like, how great would it be if Machine Head said, you know what? We've said and done everything we can do as a band. This is the best we can do. We can't really top it with another album. Let's call it.
You know, as disappointing as I might as disappointed as I might have been if this was the end of the road for them, like in hindsight, I would rather artists go out on top than than continue past their prime and like ruin their legacy.
Yeah, it's one of those cases where you don't really want to see a band just fizzle out or just phone it in with each record that just kind of sounds like you're just coasting on your laurels, basically.
Exactly.
Yeah. What are your favorite tracks on the record, Mike?
Okay, if we're gonna limit this to 3, I would say Killers and Kings, mostly because that opening riff is amazing, and that energy never really lets up throughout the rest of the song. Killers and Kings, Ghost Will Haunt My Bones, and Sail Into the Black.
I'm gonna pick some different choices. Night of Long Knives, definitely, just because the intensity, the storytelling behind it, and the great playing all over this song. And like it's just everything I want in a Machine Head song. Take Me Through the Fire, definitely a close second. And then third, I'm gonna either go with Now We Die, or yeah, I might just try to steal Sail Into the Black too.
Again, I still can't believe people are saying that. Like, some people say that is their least favorite.
Yeah, that I one friend, I've just kind of been like, oh, it's so slow and boring. Like, do you not remember A Farewell to Arms off The Blackening? Because I know that's your favorite record by them. But yeah, Machine Head really, I said this in my Instagram post even. I really do think that this is the best 4-album run in metal.
Yeah.
How can a band return from a dud that nearly caused a breakup and basically just rebuild their reputation and just continue to get better and better as musicians and songwriters, and basically just make some of the best music you'll listen to regardless of genre?
It's going to be hard to top this run, and I don't know if any members of Trivium are going to listen to this, but the challenge is on you for Alex Bent's fourth record. If you can make a better record, if you can make a better record than any of these 4 Machine Head albums, then maybe they'll have the next best metal run.
Yeah, except honestly, between the two of us, I don't think either of us consider any Trivium record to be even remotely as mediocre as Supercharger ended up. I don't want to sound like every episode we're just dunking on Supercharger, but it just is that surprising a band goes from that album to something that's more creatively interesting.
Yeah, and the whole point of this series is, yeah, we're running through the albums of one of our favorite bands, but there just really is an inspiring narrative surrounding this band and how they were able to rise from the ultimate rock bottom, at least for them.
Only to, and I'm going to leave it on this note, only to unfortunately return to it. I'm not trying to sound melodramatic, but let's just put it this way. The next album is frustrating.
Yeah, I can't promise to review that one sober.
I just reached my 2-year mark not touching any alcohol last week, and yeah, this is, you know what, I'm gonna try and go into catharsis, because to be honest, I don't listen to it very much aside from its isolated moments, but I'm gonna try to approach it as objectively as I can.
And we will find out next week how that holds up. But until then, Nick, where can everyone find you online?
On Instagram and Instagram only, really. Super Saiyan Death Metal God. I post album covers, movies, video games. If I ever end up going to a concert again, which I will be seeing Slipknot in about 3 weeks, 2-3 weeks time, yeah, I'll post that. But until then, you'll see a bunch of South Park posts.
And you guys can find me on Twitter at Captain K42. You can check out my quick thoughts on letterboxd.com/Coach K42. And you can find me in all the various Facebook groups just at my name. You can check out Renegade Pop Culture on Facebook and Twitter at Ren Pop Culture. Look for us on Podchaser. Listen to all of our podcasts on Anchor, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, etc. And last but not least, everything can be found at renegadepopculture.com. Need an escape? So do we. That'll do it for this episode of Renegade Jukebox. We will catch you guys later. Peace out.